Let's get back to that story for Safe Border exiting Kenya. We are still with the logistics specialist, Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, and the CEO, Elema Capital. We are still with George Mboya and Odhiambo Ramogi in that order, respectively. Let me stick with you first, George. I'm going to read a statement that Safe Border gave us. They said, while Nairobi is seeing some economic recovery from COVID-19, border transportation has been hard hit. This has meant our business cannot sustainably operate in this environment, and unfortunately, the timeline for full recovery is not certain. George, how has it been hard hit? They've not been carrying 6 people. They've not been carrying 10 people. They've been carrying 1. And their service could be in demand at this time if you're talking about efficiency. And I want you to answer that with how do you then formalize the border business in Kenya? Have we just said that this is just as informal as it can get?
Yeah, thank you for this. The border business is coming up so fast and suffering quite a lot of issues, largely safety, training, courtesy, and proper customer service that is desired for such a kind of thing, and needs to be regularized. I think at this point, NTSA must come out very strongly, particularly regarding safety. I am aware, I lost a friend just last week, and a few others before, who are seriously been injured as a result of the safety standards in the sector. But coming back to the issues of operations, I think there's more needs to be done, particularly from the industry itself, which is not organized on its own, but by the government largely, so that this can be done. Okay, we are talking about, I talked about inefficiencies earlier, which probably doesn't affect them, but the timing affects them. The curfews affect them. The issues of compliance with the health sector regulations and guidelines affect them.
Yes.
In such a way. And a lot still needs to be done. I think it is more from a guidance point of view, putting them all together so that they can work and see themselves as a serious service provider. At the moment, I don't think I see much of that.
Pretty much. Let's get in at the CEO, Elema Capital, Odhiambo Ramogi. I'm going to read the statement again, so that we listen to it. While Nairobi is seeing some economic recovery from COVID-19, border transportation has been hit hard. Odhiambo, you and I see the border business in the country. So when somebody says you've been hard hit, how? What are they not saying?
Well, first of all, maybe theirs has been hit hard. You never know. One thing I'm sure of is, for some reason, the Tanzanians just shrugged off coronavirus like it's a bad flu. They continued with their football matches. They continued with their lives usually. And so it's possible that their operations in Tanzania were not as affected as they were in Kenya.
Yes.
However, Uganda was in shutdown as well, and the operations in Kampala were on hold for quite a while. And so it makes me wonder why indeed they are going to Uganda as opposed to Kenya. But that said, yes, I agree with George that there are indeed serious challenges in the sector. In particular, of course, the safety issues are more pronounced now than they were before, because for some reason they are always in a hurry. They don't follow traffic rules, and it has put a lot of people in danger. That said, also you'd remember that there is this thing of social distancing.
Yes.
In a border, there is no such thing as social distancing. You either get friendly or you get off the border. In some places, in fact, I see them carrying 4 or even 5 children going to school in one boda. And so, again, at a corporate level, you do not want to expose your brand to possible lawsuits if you're going to have your people carry their passengers without social distancing. And so that brings some challenges that probably a small player in the villages of Nyeri do not really care about. No one will sue him for millions for not adhering to World Health Organization standards. And so I feel their challenge, yes. But even before that, of course, we said that they did not have a proper value proposition in this market. And so by the time the pandemic came, they were already on a bad footing. And so it was like the last nail on the coffin.
Pretty much. Odhiambo Ramogi and George Boya, thank you very much, gentlemen, for taking your time to speak to Metropole TV this morning. You've been quite invaluable. All right, let's move on to the next issue that we have for you this morning. Now, the price of Bitcoin has continued to surge over the last few months, which has seen it jump from $10,000 in early September to its current value of more than $17,000. I'm saying that because yesterday we did see it go all the way to 18K, which represents an increase of more than 70%. Now, the cryptocurrency has now spent 112 days in a row above the 10,000 mark, its longest stretch in history, having reached the 100 days mark on November 5th. Now, Bitcoin's volume has stayed steady over the last few days between $23 billion and $32 billion. This has been consistent over the last few months despite the increasing price. This morning, to help us get a perspective on why we're talking about Bitcoin rising steadily, we're joined by Alice Anangi, cryptocurrency trainer and founder Zidane Technologies, and Kamau Nyabwengi, CEO and founder Yen Africa. Let me begin with you, Alice, this morning. Expected, unexpected. Remember, you and I were talking about 20,000 being that sweet value. I mean, we're just 3K away.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yeah. So that's our target. Most of us traders, that's what we're anticipating for, and we are very positive. We've been very bullish. You know?
Yes.
So I mean, we are looking forward to seeing it anytime soon, yeah, and there's even a possibility of crossing over, yeah.
Pretty much. We're going to talk about that timelines, because I mean, if yesterday we touched 18,000, then it could be as soon than we even expected. Let me bring Kamau Nyabwengi this morning. I mean, Kamau, did you expect that this was going to happen during the coronavirus pandemic or not?
Thank you, Simba. I remember when we did this show last, we mentioned that prices always go back to test.
Yes.
If they've been to 20,000, at some point in future, it will just come back to the 20,000 to just test that level again.
Yes.
And that is what it's doing. Yeah. So it will get to 20,000, probably get maybe 30% pullback. And then, or we just break through that ceiling and probably go to 30 or 50K. So how financial markets move is that once a price is reached and it goes down,
yes,
it can go down to whatever level, but at some point in future, it has to come back and test that level again, because there are people who had bought or sold at that point, and they still have hold that position till that time, till when that time comes when it tests that level again.
Pretty much. Now, let me get back to you, Alice, and we're going to come back to you, Kamau, because you're talking about a very interesting fact, that if you bought at that value, you're sitting waiting for it to get to that value so you can see what gains you're going to make. Fine. Now, Alice, I mean, for the very first time, we're seeing people run away from gold, which has been considered a best hedge asset. Why are we considering Bitcoin? What is moving people away from that? And I want to take you back to a headline that Bloomberg ran yesterday when we touched the 18K value. They said it is a hedge fund for the brave. Why the brave? Let's talk about that.
Well, when we look at gold and how historically it's been a store of value,
Yes.
then we would say that the reason as to why gold kept its value and people chose to invest in it initially, yeah, was because gold is actually scarce, yeah.
Yes, yes.
So we know what happens when we have a commodity that's scarce, yeah. We have a low supply and a high demand. So that means the value keeps on rising or it's retained, yeah. So for the long term, it's a good store of value. So now we have Bitcoin that has come in, which is now the new age asset. Yeah,
Yes.
we're calling it the new age asset.
Yes.
In line with now the fourth industrial revolution. Yeah, everything is just transitioning and technology is booming right now. Yeah, so we also have the value of scarcity in Bitcoin itself. Yeah.
Yes.
How the technology has been made is that there's a certain number of Bitcoins that will be released into the network during a certain period of time, yeah? And as we go towards that maximum value, the number of Bitcoins being released keeps on halving, yeah? So it keeps on being reduced, and now there are more use cases, yeah? Especially with the pandemic and everything that has happened. We have such huge bodies supporting the space. It's solving so many challenges that have been created by the pandemic, yeah? Cross-border transactions and very fast transactions, especially now with the World Health Organization recommending that people transact digitally, yeah?
Yes.
So, yes, everyone, most of the investors, even the private investors who initially backed gold up, now are also backing Bitcoin up, yeah? So this is actually very, very positive news. That means more use cases will lead to more demand, which will, and we have low supply, so we definitely know what happens in the financial markets when we have such a scenario. Now, why is it for the brave? It is for the brave because there are a lot of fundamentals that are attached to the cryptocurrency market. Yeah?
Yes.
How we know it is volatile. Yeah, we have huge jumps. It's not new for us to experience $2,000 jumps in 2-3 days. You know,
Yes.
It's very, very common. So it's also an asset for the new age investors and the new age traders who are not scared of the volatility, but actually make good use and take advantage of the volatility to gain maximum returns.
Pretty much. Let me get back to you, Kamau. Fine. I mean, it's coming at a time when we've seen the dollar decrease in value because we do know what the COVID-19 pandemic is doing to major economies and the US economy as well. Do you think that that specific factor there, that the COVID-19 pandemic could have been a blessing in disguise for the Bitcoin, and I mean, more and more people are getting into it? Is that going to affect the price, or sorry, is that going to affect the value of Bitcoin? Because now, because of what Alice is talking about, that scarcity aspect, which is also helping the Bitcoin jump up in price.
The use for Bitcoin right now still hasn't gotten to the retail level.
Yes.
I think the jump in price is partly because of the pandemic.
Yes.
That people, big money is seeing that as an opportunity. The other reason would be institutional adoption. You've seen that PayPal adopted it as one of those ways that you can use to pay.
Yes.
On their platform. So that caused a form of fear of missing out amongst institutional investors and also institutional, let's say, hedge funds and people that are in the financial, companies that are in the financial space. So that also is what we are experiencing, and that is part of what is causing the rise in price. The other thing I can attribute to the rise in price is what recently happened in the US.
Yes.
The uncertainty during the elections also causes some people to see that as a safe haven and put in their money. So the adoption has not really yet, apart from us traders, it hasn't really yet gotten to the retail. But as more institutional players come in, then it gives more clout, it gives more validity for it's sort of going to happen both ways, bottom up and top down. Bottom up has been when nothing has been happening, when the price was around, let's say, 9,000, just moving slowly. The activity right then was mostly from retail traders and just retail use, like buying and selling of stuff.
Yes.
But right now, when you see such big movements, it means that there's big money being involved. And the big money is coming from the institutional players. So that is the other way that the adoption is coming from, like from top down, that like its validity. Now that you have a card, you have a PayPal account, and PayPal have allowed for you to now use Bitcoin as one of the ways you can pay, then more and more people are going to adapt Bitcoin and other currencies as a way of a medium of exchange and a store of value.
Pretty much. All right, just the last question, and that's the question that everybody is waiting for. Unless, give me a prediction if you may. I mean, well, if we're talking about 20,000 being the sweet value that we touched at one time, do you expect for us to push beyond that value? Could you put a timeline on it if you can?
Okay. What we've seen in the past is the price getting to the highest point of about 20, slightly above 20K, around 2,300, yeah?
Yes.
So the anticipation based on now the technical analysis and the fundamentals attached to it right now, yeah? There are two ways to it, yeah? So the first way is the price will touch the highest point it touched initially, which is now that point between 20K and 2,300,
yes.
And we either expect a pullback, meaning that the price will be pulled back to try and retest the lower levels, yeah, before it can bounce back up, or we expect a complete drive by the bulls, you know, to push the price way above the point that it hit before, yeah, so that we can form new levels. Actually, the anticipation most traders have right now is forming new levels, yeah. We had some analysts saying that once Bitcoin hits 17K, there'll be a pullback. It will go and retest the 12K levels. But, you know, the market does what the market does. Yeah.
Yes.
So the market proved those analysts wrong. So right now we have, you know, very strong conviction that we have a lot of support from now the bulls, meaning that there's a huge possibility that this price is going to break above the 20K level, and it's actually going to set new highs.
Pretty much. Finally, Kamau, clear for us the conversation this morning. Do you share the same sentiment with Alice, or could you give us a timeline for us to see that sweet 20K?
All right. So there's an article I read recently, just the other day, where a Citibank official was estimating that by the end of 2021, then the price of Bitcoin will have been will go to 300,000.
Yes.
We are now 18,000. So the estimate, according to his technical analysis, is that it will go to 300,000. And why this can be is because we right now we know that Bitcoin is mined, and right now the number of mined Bitcoin so far is around 18.5 million. The maximum amount of Bitcoins that is going to be mined for the whole time is 21 million Bitcoin up till 2140. So the supply as we go is decreasing while the demand is increasing. And with economics, you know what that means, that when there is low supply and high demand, then of course the price has to go up. The other thing is where we are at in terms of the market cap. So far, the market cap of Bitcoin is about 300 billion, which is a very small fraction if you compare it to any of the big conglomerates and the big companies like Apple and Facebook and all that. So if we estimate that the market cap could reach, let's say, logically, 4 to 5 trillion. If you divide that by the number of Bitcoins that are going to be available, then obviously the price is going to go up. Yeah, so so definitely it's not going to be a straight line. There's going to be pullbacks, and then for it to rush up back again.
Yes.
But not financial advice, as we usually say, but most definitely the price is going to keep on soaring.
Pretty much. Kamau and Alice, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We shall be definitely watching, and once we hit that sweet 20K, guess what? I'll call you back so we can talk about it then, isn't it?
Thank you.
That might be tomorrow.
Yes, probably tomorrow.
Yeah, we won't be surprised.
There are indications for that. All right, 21.
All right, thank you very much, Simba.
Anytime, man. 2146. That's your SMS line at Metropole TVKE across all your social media platforms. That is it. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kieg.